Okay, so today I'm coming to you guys with a subject that talked about sometimes in wrestling, but it's not talked about that often. Okay, and I'm outside today, and it's hotter than the deepest bowels of hell out here. That's why I'm glistening, but I'm going to try to hold it together to make this video despite all of the issues. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Wrestlers who have undergone major body transformations, okay, and some will most likely shock you. So first up, Ric Flair. Now, that actually shocked me because, obviously Ric Flair is a lot older than I am, so I did not see him at the start of his career. I assumed he was always the size he is now. I've seen him even when he was younger, and I never saw him as being overweight. However, I came across a picture not too long ago that shocked me. Yes, my friends, that is Ric Flair. Now, I'm sitting here like, Harpo, who this man? But it's indeed Ric Flair. I actually had to look really hard. So, I don't know what caused his body transformation, but I've heard a few different things. First off, I heard he trained with Verne Gagne, which was a promoter from back in the days. I heard that when he trained with Verne Gagne, the training was rigorous, which inadvertently or intentionally caused him to lose about 50 pounds. Okay, I think he started at about 300, if I'm not mistaken. And then he got down to whatever he got down to. Then I heard it was due to a plane crash. I don't know if the plane crash made him realize he wanted to be healthy. You know, that man is like he has 9 lives. And then I heard he just wanted to change his image. So he decided to lose weight. So who knows what the truth really is. But I do know, I heard that he achieved that. Besides the rigorous training with Verne Gagne, as in he actually stopped lifting weights. We live in a day and age now where people are encouraging weightlifting for weight loss. But now, you're talking about back in those days, everyone was pushing cardio. He's saying he actually stopped lifting weights to lose that weight. So that's the first one. Ric Flair, heavy, unbelievable. The next one also shocked me, may shock some of you, Baron Corbin. Now, when he was in WWE, he's always been a pretty slim dude. I've never seen him struggle with his weight at all. But most recently, I came across something which showed a much heavier Baron Corbin. And I'm like, what in the actual hell? I don't ever remember seeing Baron Corbin like that. And there's nothing wrong with being heavier, as I struggle with my weight. But I was just shocked. So apparently, he used to be a football player before his WWE days. And he was noticeably, when I say noticeably, the man looked like he loved food, and there's nothing wrong with that. He was noticeably heavier, and I don't know he loves to cook, which is awesome. So who knows? When we love to cook, sometimes we overindulge. But when he got called up to the WWE, he dropped about 50 pounds, which brings you to that svelte look, especially in the beginning of his WWE career. Svelte Corbin, the Corbin we know of today. So yes, sometimes when wrestlers get called up, it makes them decide to go harder, to train harder, to reach their fitness goals. And also, when you're a football player, it requires you to be kind of brolic. So I understand being heavier when you're playing football. So that was the second one, Baron Corbin. Who would have ever thought Baron Corbin was heavier? Okay, I also got to look at my paper because, as I say, I'm old and I tend to forget sometimes. The next one was Damian Priest. Now, I found out about this a while back, but it really shocked me. It actually came across my Facebook one day, and again, that old saying from The Color Purple, it was Harpo, who this woman? I was like, Harpo, who this man? It was Damian Priest. So back in his days as an indie wrestler, I'm not too sure if he started out small, but what happened was, as what happens with a lot of, aspiring wrestlers, they aspire to be in the WWE, and they try out, and sometimes you don't get picked on the first try. It's just a hard fact of being a wrestler, especially if you're an indie wrestler. So he tried out for the WWE. He got rejected. So he fell into a state of depression, which is unfortunate. And he put on a lot of weight. And I saw that picture. I was like, whoa. He was like unrecognizable, because we all know how slim and lean Damian Priest is. Damian Priest we know of. So he fell into this depression. He didn't give a damn about anything because he felt rejected, dejected, all kinds of dejected. And he put on a lot of weight. But then he decided to get his act together, get focused, and he lost all that weight. And strangely or not so strangely enough, he got called up to the WWE. So big ups to Damian Priest. That takes hard work, that takes discipline. You know, that's awesome, okay? Now, next up, I hope I don't get cussed out with this one. This one is actually near and dear to my heart. My boy, Prince Nana. Now, him and I, we crossed paths because we're both from Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Just in the wrestling communities, me being a wrestling fan and him being in the business, but also we were almost like neighbors in the same neighborhood. You know what I mean? Brownsville. I came across him even getting Jamaican food at times. But anyway, that's not the point of what I'm trying to say. So Prince Nana started his career in the 1990s, which a lot of you don't know. You just know him as manager extraordinaire. But he started his career in the 1990s as a wrestler, not a manager, believe it or not. And my boy was noticeably heavier. And I'm not saying this in a bad way because I love him, you know what I mean? But I had no clue. You know, and I was like, whoa, I commend him, because now the Prince Nana we know of as manager extraordinaire, he is much smaller. So he put the work in. And I want to say that it was prior to his ROH days, because when he was in Ring of Honor, he was already slim. So I think from 1990 whatever to 2002, when he started his career in ROH, he was probably on the heavier side, and then he got to where he is pretty much now, which is, like I said, really commendable, because when you are a manager, it doesn't really require you to be as fit as the wrestlers. So he could have easily fallen off, but he did not. Now, perfect example, and I'm not crapping on him, is Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, you know, he's the mouthpiece, he's the manager, but that dude is plump. He's plump. You know, so there's really not a lot of pressure on you to be slim or fit when you're a manager. But Prince Nana, even though he knew he was going to be a manager and maybe not wrestle anymore, whatever his decision was, he still put that work in and got his weight down. Much big ups to bro. Always going to love that dude. All right. Next up is Walter, who we now know today as Gunther. Okay. Sorry, I have to like project a little bit because I'm not using my mic because my phone is charging. Everything going wrong today, boy. Anyway, and I'm glistening. Gunther was once called Walter. Okay, he wrestled in Germany, Indies. This is where everybody gets their start, Indies. He was even called Big Daddy Walter. And that name, Big Daddy Walter, was fitting because Walter was not a small dude. I know most of you remember. I see, I'm speaking about mostly people that's not so obvious, but I think everybody remembers Walter being heavier when he was Walter in his NXT days. But anyway, on his time in the Indies, he was a big dude, okay, when he was wrestling in Germany. Then he got called up, I believe, to NXT UK. Still heavy, dude, still heavy, you know, as Walter. Somewhere during the course of him, in between him getting called up to the main roster, before then, he started slowly slimming down. It wasn't like overnight. We've seen Walter going smaller. And then one day we were like, oh shit, holy shit, Walter done lost half of Walter. And he became Gunther. And that was interesting because I had stopped watching WWE for a while. Even now, I don't really watch that often. And I'm like, wait, isn't it the same guy who was like Walter? I was really confused, scratching my head. But yes. And how he achieved it, because some of us would all love to know. But it's pretty much basic mathematics. He said he focused more on his diet. Some people, they just say, okay, well, I'm going to exercise and I'm not going to change my diet. He focused more on the diet. And this is why people say abs are made in the kitchen. I hate to admit it because I'm the first one who really hates. I would prefer to exercise, to burn the, to go on the treadmill and burn off what I ate, than restrict myself. I'd rather exercise than diet, basically what I'm telling you. So for him to focus on the diet only and make that significant change, that's big ups to him. No matter how you feel about his character or him as a wrestler, much big ups to him for that kind of discipline, because it is not easy, especially when you're bigger and you're used to eating a certain kind of way and now you're restricting all that. It's not easy, and he made a significant change, and now he is flourishing. He is Gunta. All right. Next up, am I missing anybody? No. Lastly, because this is going to be a part 1, I'm going to make another part 2, hopefully under better conditions, is Nia Jax. Now, I'd saved her for last because I feel like she doesn't get enough credit. And I say that because I see people online being very hard on her. But as a plus size woman myself, I may not be as plus size as she was, but I'm still a plus size woman. Nobody's ever going to call me skinny. Maybe when I was a little younger, but not now. Okay? So Nia Jax, what a lot of people don't realize is that she was a lot larger than she is now. Okay? And when she got let go, I don't know if you guys remember, she got let go out of WWE a few years ago. During that time, she decided to make some lifestyle changes, okay? And I knew she lost weight, but I didn't know exactly how much. She lost a whopping 100 pounds. That is not a small, minute amount. That is a lot. Me, myself, lost 35. And, people say, oh my God, that's a lot. And I'm like, no, it's not. I still got like 35 more. But she lost 100 pounds. And I don't know if she made any dietary changes, but I know they said she loved sports, and she played pickleball 5 hours a day. So she's an example of someone who achieved her weight loss through movement. But I love to bring her up and acknowledge her progress, because so many people still crap on her because these typical fanboys, I know this, I don't want to lose focus of this video, but these typical fanboys, they expect that she looks like Tiffany Stratton. Not that there's anything wrong with Tiffany, but they want her to look like everybody else. And they still make snide remarks about her weight. And I'm like, yeah, she's not, tiny like you guys want her to be. But you can't crap on somebody that's lost 100 pounds. Let you try to lose 100 pounds, then you can come talk. But you can't crap on someone who's lost that kind of weight and still say, well, they're still big. Like, that just irks me to no end. But she lost 100 pounds. Give it up for Nia, because she deserves it. And it's not easy. And, I can see the difference from how she was then to how she is now. Even her modeling days, in between, her wrestling and the WWE, and then now, you know what I mean? So big up to Nia. 100-pound weight loss, whopping 100-pound weight loss. I don't want to hear shit about she's still big. It's not about what you like. It's about how comfortable she feels in her skin. And she actually did do something that strides towards improving her health. So it's not about your image of what a woman should look like. It's about what she did for her health, her own personal journey, because everybody's journey is different. Anytime it comes to fitness, and that's what a lot of you knuckleheads need to realize. But anyway, I don't want to go off into a tirade, because I could do that sometimes. This is part 1. I'm going to be back with a part 2. More shocking body transformations of wrestlers that may or may not surprise you. And the next time, and that's some fireworks, scared the crap out of me. Bye.